Yeah, on you now.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. As you well know, we are looking at harnessing youth's potential for nation building. And this topic tonight is appropriate because we have youths who are quite ambitious and ready to contribute to nation building. But a number of questions will agitate our mind as to how do we harness those potentials. So we are going to have our speaker and our mentor. Our speaker will be Shogade Victoria, and our mentor will be Barrister Sahid Toyin Mohammed. And I do believe that this is going to be an interesting conversation for all of us. We should be ready to participate, ask questions when the time comes. So I'll call on the mentor to open the floor so that the presenter can now speak to us.
Good evening, everyone. You're welcome to yet another edition of our webinar at Champions Educational Foundation. Tonight, we have a presentation to be made by Victoria Shogade, and the topic quite incisive, and it's even more relevant in contemporary Nigeria. In fact, across the globe, topic that worth deliberating upon. The topic, as we all know, is how can we harness the youth potential to build a nation? So the presenter tonight will take us through the definitions of some key concepts like nation qualifies to be addressed as a youth, and what are those potentials that youth ought to have in order to build a nation, and how can we successfully harness those potentials for nation building. I have the honor and the privilege to invite the presentation presenter tonight, an undergraduate at the University of Lagos. And I also want to commend her in advance for finding time to put up this particular presentation together, despite the fact that she just finished writing exams. And in fact, she ought to have traveled for the Christmas holidays, but for this particular presentation. So I commend her for that. And I want to just appeal to her to make the presentation as brief as possible so as to enable her to prepare for the journey ahead. So thank you very much and enjoy the presentation. Victoria, you can go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Am I to speak now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. Good evening. Good evening. I greet everybody. I'm Shogade Victoria, a founding student of University of Lagos, a law student, yes, founding student of University of Lagos, and I'll be speaking on the topic harnessing youth potential for nation building. Okay, I would love to share my slide, but it says only the host can share in this meeting.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can make you co-host. Is that possible?
I think that's better. Or you send it across to one of the hosts.
All right. Okay. I'll send it now.
Yeah. So you're co-host now. So try to share now. Let's see if it comes up.
Okay, sir. Okay, I'm very sorry. It's saying unsupported documents. I will send it to one of the hosts
Okay.
on WhatsApp. It's saying unsupported. document because I'm using my phone.
Okay. And so maybe you can just send it to me. I will be able to share it.
All right. I'm so sorry for the delay.
No problem at all. It's part of the technology and how it works.
Mm, I've sent it, sir.
Yes, just coming in now. Okay, is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Visible. So this topic will be on harnessing youth potential for nation building. All right. Um, I can't see the slide.
Okay. Well,
Yes, sir.
let's try it again. How about now?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes. So speaking on harnessing youth potential for nation building, I like they've said is a very good topic for to deliberate on. Saying even taking Nigeria as a as an example, where we have like over 70% of the nation comprises of youth, it's very important for us to know, okay, what are the potentials of this youth? What can they do? We are all clamoring for Nigeria to grow, for Nigeria to develop, for Nigeria to become like other countries. What can the youth do to achieve this purpose? Should you just leave it to the government? Since like 100%, like 90% of the government said we can't say that they are youth. Should we just leave it to the government? Is there a need for the youth to contribute? Okay, if the youth are to contribute, what are the things the youth ought to have? How can the youth contribute to nation building? So these are some of the things this presentation will be on. So thank you, sir. The next slide will be on the outline. Yes, so we first discuss what a nation is, why, what is nation building, why nation building, like, okay, why is it important for us to build a nation? Then youth as nation builders, who is a youth? If we are to consider youth potential, okay, what are the category of people to be considered as youth? Also, qualities of an ideal youth for the role of a nation builder. And lastly, but not the least, harnessing youth potential for nation building, then conclude. So these are the things I'll be talking briefly on. And yes, to chip it in, there will be some time to ask question. I'll ask question and also asking question. Thank you. Next slide. So the next slide will be on definition of a nation. If I to consider nation building, so what are we building? What type of setting is considered as a nation? Is a country a nation? Is Nigeria a nation? can we say US is a nation? So that's what I'll be explaining. So definition of a nation. Early conception of nation defined as a group or ways of people who shared history, tradition, culture, sometimes religion, and usually language. So these are some of the things for you to call, okay, a group of people, a nation, or a set of people. For them to become a nation, there must be these things: history. They must share common history, tradition, culture. Not just they might be different individually, but then there must be that those connecting factors like tradition, history, culture, sometimes religion. Like I think Iraq, yeah, is mostly dominated by Muslims. Then usually language. So an example is the United Kingdom. United Kingdom, yeah, consists of 4 different nations. We have English, the English nation, which some people think is the UK itself, but no. We also have the Welsh, the Irish, and the Scottish. And these 4 different nations have their own language, they share history, they share culture, even their laws are different. Yes, even their laws sometimes they vary. So these are some of the things to be considered as a nation. So factors that define a nation. If you see some set of people, can we just say that they are a nation, or instead can we tell them to be a state? Why do we call this particular place? Why can we describe them to be a nation? Why not just call them an organization? Why should they be called a nation? So these are some of the factors that distinguish a category of people to be a nation. So we have common descent, like common historical background, common language, as I said earlier, common religion, maybe the Islamic religion, the Christianity religion, Buddhist, and so other. It could be geographical boundaries. There's some people, like maybe because they share the same territory, okay, let's come together, let's become a nation, just because, okay, this place, we dominate it together, so let's come together as a nation. Also, we have same cultural practices. We also have common national identity. So from these factors I've said, can the poster will be, okay, can we say Nigeria is a nation? So I'm asking the audience, can we say that Nigeria is a nation?
Audience, please come in to answer the question. Is Nigeria a nation?
Yes, Nigeria is the nation.
Okay. Is
Why,
that
sir?
the view? Okay, why? And is that the view that everybody shares?
Yes, sir.
Oh, because they are common descendants. So talking of Oduduwa, talking of Patanjali, talking of Hausa, they have their descendant, the same descendant. The Yorubas, they have their descendant, the Igbo, and many others. So talking about language, we have common language. So talking about religion, we have common religion. Talking about geographical boundaries, we have common ones. So we have the same cultural practices and common national identity as well. So we are all Black.
Okay, any other view, please?
I think we disagree with the last speaker a bit, because we have some set of individuals who address themselves as urban nation agitators. So that presupposes that there is a nation within the nation. So we want to believe that Nigeria has a complex definition of the nation, because it has different multi-ethnic nationalities within the nation. So we cannot simply say that Nigeria is just a nation like that. We have to qualify the kind of nation we have in Nigeria, because we have different backgrounds, different descents. So like you said, there are some people that claim that their descendants is from Oduduwa. Some people will not believe that kind of story, especially in the far north and even in the east. So I don't believe that Nigeria as a nation has the same or the common descendants for everybody. And we don't have a common language as a nation, if not for the lingua franca that you have, to be English. So I think Nigeria has a more complex definition of nationhood.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you very
yes.
much. Okay,
Uh,
please go ahead.
oh, thank you so much for that. So why I want to agree more, because I've even been thinking about that, why the speaker was talking about nation being identified with all these criteria. But looking at United Kingdom as well, so we can say if from the slide, it says it consists of 4 nations. So just like that, we have the same in Nigeria. So we can actually classify different nations in Nigeria based on different criteria. Looking at it from the angle of language, just the same way we have Welsh, Irish, Scottish, and English. So we can have Hausa, TV, Ibibio, and so on as different nations. So looking at geographical boundaries, so we can have the North nation, the East nations, and so on. So the same thing with other criteria, other factors here used to classify it. So if we can say United Kingdom is a nation, yes, Nigeria is a nation. Then we say Irish is a nation, Scottish is a nation. Then we can say we have Yoruba nation, we have Hausa nation, and so on like that. So, and even we can have more specific classifications under all these sub-classifications as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. My own answer too will go in the line of somewhere in between, depending on what perspective is used. So mostly, if you look at history, the perspective will be, does a Yoruba man share history with an Hausa man, for example? The answer would depend on periodization of that history. If you're talking about history from, because whatever happened in 1914 has become history in 2022. So if you talk about history of how amalgamation occurred in 1914, you may say, oh, we share common history on that basis. But if we look beyond that 1914 backward, you may not find any common history between a Yoruba man and an Hausa or Igbo man, because those histories will be distinct to those that were in the Yoruba nation, Igbo, and different tribes of that time. So if you look at religion as well, it depends on from what time. Because if we look at Islam and Christianity in Nigeria, for example, we can put a timeline to when they actually arrived in Nigeria and what kind of religions had been practiced before the reception of those religions. If we talk about geographical boundaries as well, Nigeria was not this geographical boundary that we now know. What used to happen was that each of those tribes had their kingdom, that some of those kingdoms went far beyond what is now known as Nigeria. For example, when you look at the Yoruba nation, I believe that it extended to areas like Shabe and some other places that may have fallen under Benin Republic, for example. So I would say that it all depends on what perspective is used. If we want to use the perspective that, okay, we now have one official language, we now share common history from 1914, we now have common religion from a certain period, but a whole lot would depend on the periodization of whatever factor is used to be able to arrive at whether we have a nation. But we must recognize that at best, it will only be a nation of many nations if anything like that exists. Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. I think Victoria is.
Okay.
Hello, we can hear you.
Yeah, but she's muted. If Victoria, in case you're trying to speak, you're muted. Except if certainly it's a network issue. Okay. We can probably continue the conversation about whether Nigeria is a nation until she comes back if we're able to find her then. Any more views, agreeing, disagreeing, or discussing further the point?
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Okay, my own contribution to Nigeria being a nation or not. We um, beyond the acceptance that we are a nation. Are the people in agreement? Is there a kind of that psychological unity among every one of us? Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba. Do we see ourselves as a nation, or we just have to agree based on geography and other factors that we are a nation? Because even when there are shared tradition, culture, and values among us, there are still areas of sharp differences that threatens our nationhood. So yes, we are a nation. We are a nation based on definition and based on how we have gained independence. But in our behaviors, in our attitude, are we expressing nationhood? We are just tolerating each other. So there are areas of where we are living as a nation, and there are areas we are struggling to live as one country. And this ongoing this coming election is a good example. Do we see ourselves as a nation, or there are still some strong biases among us? So that's my contribution. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Is Victoria back now? No, I don't think so. So I think you're coming from the perspective of identity. How do people identify themselves? And I think that your point is very strong because the identity you're talking about is not just physical, it's also mental. It's the way that how people think psychologically, whether people are actually seeing themselves as Nigerians or they see themselves first as belonging to their tribe. Right.
Okay.
So from my observation,
Victoria, are you there? Sorry.
Victoria,
I
are
think
you
she's
back
online
now?
now.
Okay, please speak once you are here, but you're on mute.
Yes, sir. I'm very sorry.
Okay, all right. I think you've gotten
All right, sir.
you've
I'm
gotten
very sorry.
variety
The
of,
network is terrible. I'm very sorry.
no problem. So you've gotten variety of views to your question. So over to you.
All right. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry for not being able to listen to the answers. Yes, but I was able to listen to the one by my mentor, and I think I share a view to what he said actually. That Nigeria, yeah, we call ourselves a nation, but the definition of a nation in Nigeria seems to be complex. We have
Reception is still not strong.
Oh, we can't hear you. She sent a message in the box asking whether we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Let's reply that we cannot.
So, what's the way forward to this now? What do we do with our pro network?
And we started off on a good note. Let me ask her if she's able to, switch device or something. To switch device or change location.
If we are unable to get to have a good reception, I would say the mentor. I would say the mentor. Since we have the slide, this is supposed to be Sugar's presentation, but inside, and then we have a discussion around it.
Okay, that sounds good. So are you good to go, MT?
Yeah.
I said, I think we should proceed rather than just waiting for her.
Okay, all right, please proceed. The
Yes,
floor is yours.
the next slide.
All right.
Yes, the presenter talked about nation building, having defined the concept of nation. He went ahead to cite some nations, define what nation building is all about. And he identified that a process through which the majorities are constructed. And he also raised the issue of national identity. Yes, and that's this subjective feeling of something someone shares with a group of people about a nation, regardless of one's legal citizenship status. We quoted Aris Mailonas who have said legitimate authority in modern national states is connected to popular majorities. So nation building is the process through which these majorities are constructed. That is, when we have a lot of people in a particular place sharing common descents, identities, and common background, the process through which they are constructed together, and that is the idea of nation building. I think the next slide. So, as the name implies, nation building is construction of or the process through which the different people sharing some commonalities are brought together. So it is also the creation of national paraphernalia such as flags of arms, those national symbols. So it is also part of building a nation. So generally, it is also the process diverse origins. So just some things together like religion or culture. The process through which those people are being seen as one, the process of constructing them to become one and to identify themselves One, whether through national symbols or otherwise. That is the idea of how to build a nation. That is what nation is all about. Please, the next slide. So, do you think nation building is important, and why? Having regard to the fact that the presenter told us that nation building is this. It's a process. It's the method. It's the idea of coming together, identifying ourselves as one through national symbols, or coming together to achieve a common purpose. So do you think this idea is even important? And if you think so, why do you think it is important to build a nation? So that's the question being asked by the presenter. Or else just brief contribution to speak to the person.
Okay, thank you so much for such a wonderful question. Looking by what we've had initially, so we can say that nation building is so much important because as we have it in our lexies, we have it like two heads are better than one. So that means that when we have, and even let's take it from a psychological perspective first. So looking at different languages, when one has that competence in two languages, you are more than one person of many languages, a unity in building a nation. So we can say that it is actually a green light for progress. Also looking at, okay, different geographical locations coming together, maybe through a lot of things in their own geographical area. So they have these resources, which in my own geographical area, I don't have. In order to make things easier for others and to promote, and perhaps for instance, if I have to use my voice over there, using the resources I have. So my voice may not be amplified as I actually want it, but coming together of many hands with different resources, perhaps my voice will be heard and I will be regarded important outside there. So I think this is why nation building is very important. Thank you.
So basically what you said is that it's very important to build a nation for like a resource control so that whatever maybe natural resources that is found in one nation, like in the kind of nation we have in Nigeria, when we have nations within a nation, like Mr. Elias said. So you mean it's very good for everyone to come together so that we can share these resources together. I think that's the point you are trying to make.
Yes.
Okay,
And
thank you very much for the contribution. Can we have another person to also speak to the COSAT? Why it is important to do the nation?
All right. Can you hear me very well?
Okay.
We have several speakers. Can we have your praise?
All right. Good evening, sir, and everyone.
Yes.
I think let me just speak briefly on why nation building is important. I think nation, from my perspective, I think nation building is important because it allows the participation of a civil society. Nation building is very important, particularly in Nigeria. It helps us to promote the welfare of a nation. Talking about our democratic institutions. So I think nation building is very important in that form. Thank you.
Okay. Daniel too was trying to say something. Can we hear you now?
Okay. My reason for nation building is that nation building is vital for nurturing a sense of belonging. Because when people have once people don't have a sense of belonging, they become indifferent to participation and the well-being of their nation. So nation building is key nurturing a sense of belonging, to nurturing a sense of shared values and vision. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it appears we've not seen a contrary view. Do you have anybody with a divergent opinion on why nation building is important? Or does anybody think that we don't even need it?
I also agree with earlier speakers that we need it. And I'm coming from the perspective of the sacrifice. Nation building is important to inculcate the habit of sacrificing narrow personal interest for broader and more sustainable interest. And why I say that is that there is no nation that can be built without individuals actually allowing their interests to yield way for collective interest. So if one individual wants to do something and they find that that thing is not going to be in the interest of the nation, it is part of the nation building that inculcate that behavioral pattern in them to say, oh, this is me, but this is the collective interest that overrides my interest and I must let go of mine. So if there's no concept like nation building, if we're not building any nation, nobody will make such sacrifices. And the result is that our world is not going to be a better place for anyone to live if everybody can pursue their personal interests, regardless of whether it encroaches on the interest and right of others.
Okay. Thank you very much for that contribution. I think there will not be any dissent with respect to the POSA on why nation building is important, because everybody seems to agree that nation building is something that we need. And when we hear call for separation from the Nigerian nation, we have that sense that those persons or those agitators are not being realistic at times. And at times, we feel like they don't have the sense of nationhood. The spirit of nationhood is not in them. Because even within their nations, let's look at those Yoruba nation agitators, for instance, now. When they make the call, even there are some Yoruba people that will believe that they are not fighting for the interests of the nation at large. And I'm sure that even if they succeed in having that kind of nation they are calling to, some of their members, I mean, those within their nation will not want to join that particular nation in the interest of the Nigerian nation. So I think it is important that everybody will come together, form a formidable nation that everybody will look up to having. So I think we should have the next slide.
All right, yes.
The presenter has given us some reasons why she thinks nation building is important. And you agree with me that having gone through the slide that every one of us can see, she has identified those reasons why nation building is important. And first of all, she talks about the issue of political stability. We observe that we have easy transition from one democratic government to the other in Nigeria for some years now. At least from 1999 to date, we've been having one transition to the other. And there is a sort of political stability, contrary to what we used to have, because the nation is building gradually. And that is why she also submits that nation building itself implies democratization, and that also has the effects of forming or making a peaceful society. Somebody is saying they can't see the slide. I don't know. Because I can see it here. Or is
probably a function of network connection. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So, like we all agreed, nation building, it puts the interests of the members, and this is what we aid: security, sustainability, like food, shelter, basic services, and protection of lives and property of the people. When the nation is not properly built, this particular nation, especially Nigeria that we have several nations within the Nigerian nation. We have more than 200 or even 300 nations within Nigeria alone. If everybody wants to go their own way, to have their own nation, there will be no stability because of how Nigeria is being organized. So when we come together and we try to build Nigerian nation, it will allow available resources to be allocated efficiently, so as to cater for the interest of the minority nations. So anybody that is feeling like marginalized, they will try as much as possible to contribute their own little way to the development of the nation. I don't think there is any local government in Nigeria, for instance, now that does not have like a polling unit. And one of the ways to contribute to nation building is to elect good leaders. So if you elect good leaders, you are in a way building a nation, and you are contributing your own little way to the development of that particular nation. So it will promote the growth of the economy. So anybody complaining about the kind of economy we have in Nigeria, the first question we should ask the person is, what have you done? What have you contributed to the building of the nation? Next slide. So with all these reasons, when we see that, very important, and we can't do without building the nation. So youth as nation builders, you agree that youth generally are the builders of the nation. Because when somebody has passed the youthful age, the person will not really be building that time, because there is time for everything, like people say. Even though you can still do some things in your own way after the youthful age, but the best time to do it is that youthful time. And that is why the idea of having youth build the nation is very important. But like she submitted here, it is not everybody, it is not every youth that has that capacity. So that is why she submits that it's important that each nation should define what success means to them. So without a definition of what kind of environment we have or we want to have, we cannot know the kind of youth we want to build that particular nation. And a nation builder will demonstrate an eagerness and willingness to help others. Like somebody also rightly submitted that to build a nation, you have to make a lot of sacrifice. Contribute your own resources so that everybody will share the collective resources. Don't say because we have gold here, you will not make your own contribution to the nation. Because you have oil in your own community, you will not have your own contribution. Let other areas, let other nations that are economically less developed also benefit from your own resources. And that is why to have youth as nation builders must define the kind of youth that we want to build that particular nation. Next slide. Then we've been talking about youth. Who is a youth? He has defined the youth using the National Youth Policy of 2009. I think there is another one of 2018 or thereabouts. And maybe there is a slight difference in the definition or qualification of this. So, but according to that particular policy, which includes citizens of Nigeria aged between 18 to 29, but according to some other instruments, like the African Youth Charter, the youth is someone between the ages of 15 and 24. Under the first one, it's between 18 to 29. And that is why when they talk about youth service, anybody above 30 years of age, for instance, cannot be able to partake in youth service, because anybody above 30 will not be regarded as a youth. But going by some other definitions by UNESCO, UNICEF, ILO, among others, we see that there are some of them that peg the range, lower age range than we have under the National Youth Policy. Some definitions I am aware of have actually extended it beyond 18 to 29 or 15 to 24. Definitions have qualified youth to be somebody between 15 and 35. I'm not aware that today whether somebody of 40 years of age is regarded as a youth, strictly speaking. But in a broader sense, beyond the definition or qualification of youth, using certain age brackets of 15 to, let's say, 35, for instance, youth generally refers to people who have the energy, the vigor, and the enthusiasm to get things done. So it is a state of mind and not a function of age, like the presenter submits. So it's not about just limiting it to persons, certain group of persons, like somebody between the age of 15 to 35 or 18 to 29 or 15 to 24. It's actually the state of mind and the ability of those persons to get some things done. So it depicts a quality of imagination or dominance of courage over timidity. So it is a period of transition from childhood to adulthood. So anybody that can rightly be called an adult is a youth. So the period between childhood to adulthood is that period, that window, what we can call the youthful age. So anybody within that can be regarded as youth. So like she submitted, she said it cannot be fixed through age grouping. It's actually the ability and not question of age at times. So when somebody says, I'm still a youth even at 50, at times it may depend on the ability of the person. So without going to look at the definition of youth, that this person is over 40, this person is over 50, the person still has the ability to do what is required at that particular age, the person can also be regarded as a youth, broadly speaking. Next slide. Yes, she has cited the case of Nigeria, that Nigeria portrays a state where everything is almost falling and they are failing, and we have a lot of youth who need to develop our socioeconomic and political growth. And he has observed, the presenter observed that the future of the youth has been mortgaged for selfish gains. Why? Because most of the vices we have in the country are mostly perpetrated by these youths. And those who are able to be achieved because the youths are being denied the benefits of good education, according to her. And that most of the youths don't have access to basic services. And that's one of the reasons that make it so. Why the Nigerian nation is failing is because the political sector is riddled with old men. By old men, like, for me, noted in the previous slide, there are people who cannot really perform, who cannot really be regarded as youth by any stretch of imagination, even without considering their age. And apart from being fragile, apart from being lacking the ability to deliver, they are also corrupt. And the presenter submits that why Nigeria is failing is that most of the political actors, they see no essence in nation building. And what they are after is just their own pocket, how to enrich themselves. So these all point to the fact that we need the youth in all the sectors for us to build a nation that will be strong. We need the youth in the social, economic, educational, and the political sectors of the nation. Next slide. Now, when we talk about youth that will develop a nation, there should be some standards that will be set for those kinds of youth, having regard to the fact that the presenter submitted earlier that most of these people that are being used to bring down the Nigerian state from being developed in all sectors are the youth. So we need to have like a standard to know the kind of qualities that an ideal youth we have to be a nation builder. And one of the first qualities she mentioned here is the quality of patriotism. A youth that will develop a nation has to be a patriotic one. And a patriotic youth is the one that will desist from acts of corruption. And he or she will realize the evil effects of corruption to nation building. So when we now have some youths being accused of corruption, or not even accusation, being convicted of corrupt related practices, offenses relating to dishonesty, stealing, and all those kind of criminal acts, are those the kind of youths that are patriotic, that will develop the nation? The answer is definitely no. And akin to that is the quality of being honest. The presenter has told us here that an ideal youth that will build a nation has to be the honest type. So it is not everybody that falls within the age bracket or the person, even in the broader sense, that can be regarded as a youth that qualifies as a nation builder. Before you can say I'm a nation builder, you have to check whether you are patriotic, whether you are honest. Next slide, please. You have to see your hard work. The person that we qualify to be a nation builder has to be that youth who is very hardworking and productive. Is that youth that is disciplined and obedient. Obedient in all sense. Obedient to lawful authorities. Obedient to even guidelines and directions. Obedient to even customary practices. So those are the kind of people that can actually build a nation. Next slide. So having regard to those qualities that we just mentioned that are very central to nation building, how can we harness those potentials, those qualities in order to build a nation? In order to do that successfully, the presenter has identified some key things to be done. Number one is having education. Like the presenter also mentioned the other time, youth are being used to perpetrate all sorts of atrocities because they deprive them, most of them, if not all, of education. And no country can really develop unless its citizens are educated. You cannot build a nation without giving the youth the required standard education, because this will prepare them to positively impact on themselves, and even the society at large. Another thing that we can use to harness the youth potentials to build a nation is to provide job and employment opportunities for the youth. We have a lot of graduates in this country. Most of them are not employed. Some people, they are self-employed, but not based on the kind of economy that we live on. They find it difficult to even grow in the business, and they don't see the necessary support from the government. And you know, even if you obtain loan from banks, the process of obtaining it at times very tedious, and even to repay loan at times, the processes are also not easy, especially for the youth. So in order to make the youth to harness their potentials to build a nation, we have to make sure that we provide job and employment opportunities. Then the youth should participate in government, in politics, and in policy formulation. Most of the things that the youth always complain about in this country, they don't partake in the processes that lead to the things they complain about. When they are making laws, youth, they play little or no role in those law-making processes. In politics, we find only a few of the youth partaking in them. So before we can harness the youth potentials, we have to see youth participating in government, politics, and policy. Next slide. Another one is to establish youth central communities to change character, value that are necessary, or those ones that are inimical to the progress or to the development of the nation. Then we should enhance the youth participation in local and rural development. Through that, be able to harness those youth potentials to build a nation. The presenter has identified up to like 5 or 6 things that must be done to harness those potentials in order to build a nation. Next slide, please. The presenter has concluded by saying that nation building aims at the unification of the people within the states so that it remains politically, economically, and socially stable and viable in the long run. And that it's high time for the youth or the younger generation to take charge this process of nation building. Thank you very much. Before I go, the presenter sent some messages and she sent apologies for not joining again because she was battling with network. So I also want to apologize on her behalf for not making it the end of today's program. But I think that with the few things she has been able to put together, we must have benefited one thing or the other from the presentation. And I hope that we can ask a few questions that I'll be able to respond to, or that some other members may also have answers to from the presentation. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Can we now welcome questions and further contributions? Okay.
May I?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. And honestly, I think it is not, she's not supposed to apologize. We understand how painful it would be, you know, to not be able to present, but we must commend her for putting up these very brilliant slides together. And it's not our fault that she's not able to make it. I mean, this is also part of building our nation that we were talking about. So she doesn't have a control over the reception, does she? So we thank her for making time to prepare this slide despite a tight schedule. I mean, it goes to say it's a priority. That she takes it as a priority. Some people don't have this much excuse to say they would not be able to present. So let's give it up to her for this job well done. You know, there will always be the debate about is Nigeria a nation because of multiple things that divide us. Are we really a nation? Should we divide? Should we just go separate ways and other things? But I want to put it out there that the Nigerian nationhood must be promoted to everybody, to the younger ones coming, to the coming generation. The Nigerian nationhood is not something we should take as negotiable. It's not something we should take, we should leave to chance. We are a nation, and another way to define a nation is a group of people that decide to live together as a nation. So if a group of people say they want to live together as a nation, then let them be a nation. Nobody should come and tell and put divisive thoughts into us. Other nations that are pointing fingers about things that divide us, they also have multiple things that divide them. Why are they not minding that? Why are they so particular about us being divided as a nation? So united, we can have this together, and it is possible. It is definitely possible for us to be able to build the Nigeria of our dream, even despite our multiple differences. So, and another thing we have to put to youth is putting national interest. You know, who are the people that put in national interest above any personal or collective interest? So we have to promote this such that when you see a Nigerian, before they tell you they are from, they are Igbo, Yoruba, or anything, we must put national interest. We should be Nigerian before being a citizen of any other state or any other culture or any other tribe. Let us be Nigerian. This is the song we must sing to everybody. And it is important because if we allow the narrative of what divides us to continue, then a time will come that it will be imperative, it will be non-negotiable than to divide. So she has put up very brilliant set, and almost all the points you would expect somebody to raise when you're talking about this kind of topic. She had actually touched base on them. She said, you know, we said something about electing good leaders being an act of nation building. And this is what we need to know. You can't sit down complaining about the state of the nation when you don't care about who is at the helm of the affair. You know, when we need to sing this song so that even if we are not able to change it now, a time should come that people know that they can't just bring anything forward to us. Political parties have failed us. They are supposed to be at the heart of this, such that before you consider somebody as a president or as a governor of any state, there should be some qualities that they present, not just because they are politicians, but they are politicians because they are the ones that they see. So if the youth that has potential are not available in the arena of this decision making, then who are they going to select? Are they going to come and call you from the corner of your room? So, and that brings me to participation in democratic processes. So, which is, you know, electionary process and stuff like that. Just be to the NGOs and CSOs, civil society organizations that are actually encouraging people to vote and to collect their voters card and to do this. It's an act. It's not just, it's an act of nation building. It's a way of sending your voice and making yourself proud that, no, this is the person we want to elect. And it might not come as immediately, but it will come over time. So that is also very important. And I want to say something, you know, she did it brilliantly by quoting the qualities of leaders, qualities of youth that should be regarded as nation builder or that should be called to nation building. Because you see in several states where they say, just in the name of youth inclusion, they just call somebody from nowhere because is young to come and be a commissioner, to come and be a SSA, to come and do this, come and do that. That is not youth inclusion. That is not youth participation in governance. There are youth that are qualified, that have capability and capacity to develop the nation, to bring ideas on the table. Those are the kind of people you call. That's when you say you are a youth inclusive government. Just by naming somebody that is 25 or 30 into your government does not make you a youth inclusive government. And we have to make this known to people, okay? It is the capacity that they can bring to the table. How can they foster development in the nation? So that's what we're saying. So it's not enough to just fall in the age bracket of being a youth. It is important to be able to have that capacity, And when we now talk of harnessing youth potential, so we have to develop youth with capacity, with ability to actually to provide us, to promote and to build the nation of our dream. So how do we go about that? One, investment in education and skills acquisition. So she mentioned that. So because if you don't educate your youth, if you don't educate your populace, there's no way you would expose their mind. There's no way they want to contribute to development. Although when we talk about education, we must make sure not to mix it with English speaking. Okay, there are people that are well educated that can never speak English. I always say this. So I met some doctors here when I came abroad that they graduated as medical doctors without knowing how to speak English at all. They learned medicine in Arabic. And it was until the time they wanted to move to the UK that they started learning English, because they had to write IELTS and OET and other things. So they are medical doctors without knowing how to speak English at all. So English speaking is not education. So, and this is this kind of discussion we need to start having. If the North cannot speak, if what they understand is Hausa and Arabic, let us have universities and colleges of education in the language that they understand. Once they are educated in their own language, they can develop that region. It is very important. English, of course, English is our official language, but we are a nation that speaks multiple languages. Let's develop these languages. Okay, so another thing is, she also mentioned changing character and value. I will stop after narrating this so that other people can speak on other points, because there are so many things to talk about and when you talk about this topic, which I'm passionate about. Okay, character and value, because our characters and values are washing down the drain nowadays in Nigeria. So we need to start changing the narrative. So if you're in a gathering of younger ones, or if you have opportunity to speak to anyone, make sure that you make them understand that what the narrative in the social media, what is in the mainstream, does not necessarily pretend what the right thing is. Because what we have nowadays is, once you have money, once you have fame, no matter how you do it, just have money, people will praise you. Those kind of things do not last, and that's not the kind of praise you want. Okay, the home training is down the drain. And again, when we talk about character and value, instead we won't wait until governments, NGOs, civil society to come and tell us this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. This starts from the family level, because a nation, there can never be a nation without a family. The family is the fundamental unit, fundamental building block of every nation, and goes back to every one of us, including myself, to build this character and value from the home. And then we should go back to what we used to have in our origin, okay? Because we have a nation where even when you're 50 years old, as long as your parents are still alive, you know that you still subject, they still listen to them. But now, once a child has money, it dictates to the parents. And then we are having a reversal of character and value. I'm sorry, I have to stop here so that other people can contribute, but that's what I want to contribute at this point. And then if there are other things to say, I'll definitely come on and say them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, I have to re-echo the appreciation to the presenter and our mentor. I think that the presentation has been capably delivered. My perspective is to look at what are the resources that are necessary in nation building. And I say that because each time I hear people say Nigeria is blessed with so much resources, if you take the conversation further that they should mention those resources, the most important part of the resources is usually excluded. So Nigeria is blessed with resources. You ask them, what are the resources? Oil, gas, gold, cocoa, cola nut, this one and that one. They mention all the material resources, forgetting the human capital resources, which are actually necessary to drive whatever kind of resources you have. Some other nations are not blessed to have people of youthful age being a large part of their population. So what they have instead is aging population of people that are very close to their pension, very close to retirement, people that they can only contribute little to nation building, probably by motivating and mentoring others coming behind. So, but they can only play very passive role rather than active role. So the point is that we have that key resource that has not been appreciated, has not been valued. And that is why it triggers other things like not providing education, like not providing, there's that carelessness in the way that we have handled that component of human capital resource. So if we don't value it, then we wouldn't think that it is valuable to provide education for the people of youthful age. We wouldn't think about how we engage those people. So that's external in terms of looking at government, policymakers who are not prioritizing the human capital resource because they don't value it. But it's also internal too, because internal, when we look at individual youth or individual person, do they actually value themselves? Do they ask that critical question Am I, as an individual, Elias, asking myself, am I a resource? Am I an asset or a liability to the country? You understand what I'm saying? So if each person is asking that question, whether I'm an asset, whether I contribute to the human capital resource of the nation, those values that have been mentioned in the presentation will make more sense. That, oh, okay, I need to be honest, so I need to be productive, or I need to contribute my part so that I don't swing to the other side of being part of the problem. So that's why I say that it is both internal and external. So internal for those who are meant to be the asset, to understand why they need to be that asset and why they need to value their own contributions to deliver it, and external because of the broader role that government and law policymakers play in the society to identify that in their arsenal of resources, this key human capital resource is probably more important than the other ones that we usually focus on, because that's the one that we actually coordinate and organize. So when you talk about economists, when they talk about factors of production, they will tell you capital, land, and that. They will tell you labor. That labor is the human part. Because if they just gather capital and just gather all the other things, that there's nobody to move things around, nothing will be achieved and productivity will not be delivered. So that's the perspective I can offer, in addition to very brilliant point that has been made already.
Okay.
May I?
All right.
Okay,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Kolawole and Prince. After you, Mr. Kolawole.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your submissions, and I would say that I actually want to start my own contribution, Mr. Kazim, to human capital. So, and sincerely, that is very important. But there is this angle that we actually need to also talk about, is why we need human capital so much. We need to look at how do we build it. So, and when we have it, how do we use it in a positive manner? Because recent instances, for instance, what Dr. Ahmed rightly said, that saying youth inclusive in governance. So we realize that we are having it as in age bracket seen, but in reality, we can see that the youth are somehow manipulated. So you used in a sensitive senses. So and that calls for why building human capital. What are the things that we should be expecting, and how can they use their potentials in a very positive manner? For instance, we have some, like 2-3 years ago, I had some good writers in Kwara State, for instance. I have them in mind, like when this one grows up in the next 2-3 years with this energy, with this prospect. So there is every tendency that Kwara State is going a great height. But it's surprising that these people that we've seen potential in them, so suddenly they were bought on the way, and their intelligence were bought with them. So they are now working otherwise of what we have been thinking of them. So why thinking that we can actually build this nation using human capital, we need to emphasize more on how these people can also be positive hands for the nation. So we can see what is happening, especially because we can't just do away with what is happening in the media. So we can see that the media, the political issues around the nation now is being energized by some youth. And of course, because their energy, the potential they have, are bought by rich politicians who are corrupt. So which is even posing more problems for the nation than solving our problems. Thank you so much.
Sir Elias, thank you. We understand that you might have to leave now. No problem. So
thank you very much.
yeah, I will just round up from here so that I will take it over from here and then make sure that we finish in good time. So thank you, Mr. Kolawole, for that submission. Prince, you were going to say something.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Can you all hear me, sir?
Yes, we can.
I have a couple of questions, but let me start from where Dr. Ahmed stopped. Dr. Ahmed, you mentioned something about youth inclusive in governance, and let me start my question from that. I think, let me quote you now. You said something that it's not enough to have someone probably 25 or 30 years in your team, and then you call that a youth inclusive governance. So my question now is, what exactly is a youth inclusive governance? Now, the reason why I'm asking this question is because, a few years ago in my country, in fact, in my state, a 27-year-old was elected a commissioner, and that went viral in the country. And to an extent, that should be a youth inclusive governance. But now, you are actually contradicting that, or probably you should explain better. What exactly is a youth inclusive governance?
All right, thank you, Prince. Well, having people within that age brackets, I mean, a youth, somebody of that age is important, you understand, because we believe they have the energy, they have the vibe, they have the innovative idea, they have the passion, to bring something to the table. But what I'm saying is, if you want to put somebody in that position of power, you don't put a mediocre, you put somebody with capacity, a young person with capacity, intellectual, and the desired characteristic features. And the vision to drive the nation forward is to be called upon. Okay, not only in your state, in my state, Kwara State, somebody in 400 level, 500 level is made senior special advisor to the governor on communication. You understand? So currently, you understand? And the question is, it begs to say, are there nobody with qualified portfolio to fill that position? Why exactly is it? I mean, I have nothing against this. The personality of this person is a friend, okay? But my point is, there are several people who have graduated, you understand, who have graduated, who have shown themselves, who have distinguished themselves, even in this area of communication, you understand, who have potential and who would not be distracted, you understand, to drive change into it. So, and you wonder why this person, you understand, why exactly are you picking somebody, or when you make commissioner, somebody who is just going to NYSC, is just going to serve. Yes, I just finished undergraduate, going to serve, and you make that kind of person commissioner for a ministry or agency. So those are the kind of things that is happening now, and it should be applauded on the social media, because that is what people understand. People just want to use general traffic. You know what I'm saying? And nobody cares. And this brings me to what Mr. Kolawole said. It is important. We have to understand that the most important asset, you understand, to nation building is youth, is the human capital. But the narrative has been that if everybody wants to make it, make it in quotes. They want to have money. They want to belong to the social class. They want to be seen on the national TV and stuff. And that's all that matters. This ephemeral things, this basic things, not basic, I don't have the word, so the fame, the outward look, that's what matters now. So we need to start bringing a different narrative. We need to, when you identify this kind of youth, you need to be able to tell them that there are better ways to use it. You understand? I've seen people like that too in Kwara City. So when you think, okay, they can definitely do better, and once they get into government, then they change tune. You understand? So the youth, the human capital is most important, but we have to present them with an opportunity to actually use that. And when we build character, I'll mute that person. When we build character and value, you understand, even when you are called upon to come and serve, you would know to say, no, I am not serving unless these conditions are met. I cannot come to your team unless you give me a free hand to effect the change that I want to effect. You understand? These are the things, these are my vision, these are the things I want to do. If you call upon me to come and serve, are you agreeing to this? Let's have a written agreement. You understand? So that I won't come and you say I want to. And if they say they cannot do it, then you know that you are not taking that position. That's not for you. That's not for you. And like I said in the last meeting with executives, if somebody is given a position of power, to you, your first ideology is to make impact, to make change, to be able to leave your footprint. And when you see that that is jeopardized, you cannot bring that to the table. Resign. We have to start having this conversation. Resign. You don't have to hold on to power. If you cannot deliver on the mandate, resign. Just leave. That is honorable than just sitting there collecting the money and belonging. You know, so it is ridiculous. So that is one. Youth is the most important thing. Another thing is we have to be open to innovation. You know, innovation and progress. So governments need to be open to innovation and progress from the youth, because they're supposed to drive that. To cap it up, who are those responsible for this harnessing youth potential towards nation building? You know, who are those responsible for it? One, government. Okay. Two, non-governmental organizations like Champion Education Foundation, like what we're doing now, civil society organizations that drive youth participation in election, and then you know, educating them, providing employment and stuff like that. Government has to provide employment and the quality education. Then mosques and churches, our afars, our imams, our our pastors, our leaders, religious leaders, all of them, they have this responsibility, especially in driving the values and culture. You understand? They have the responsibility to do that. So mosques and churches, family, like I said earlier on, family, then individual also has that responsibility of personal development, so that when you are called upon to come and serve, you have something to give. You cannot give what you don't have. You have to develop yourself. You have to have that capacity. You cannot give what you don't have. So individual also has a responsibility in nation building. So I think these are, the group classes of people that are responsible and in harnessing this potential of the youth into nation building. Thank you. Edime, your hand is up.
All right. Okay. When is done, please.
Edime? Okay.
Sorry, I guess that's a mistake.
All right, fine. I'll hand over to Barrister Said. If there are any other contribution, fine. If not, we can call it a day. We can round up. Thank you.
Sorry, sir. I have a contribution, please.
Yes, Prince, have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. I really enjoyed this webinar, and I just have, initially I wanted to make two contributions, but it appears that we have answered one. I was going to ask about, is it the responsibility of the government to create a system for nation building? And we've been able to talk about it, a collective effort, a collective responsibility. Now, this last question, I want to address it to the mentor, M. Tony. I think while the mentor was presenting, he talked about the age group for a youth. He mentioned 18 to 24, but particularly the mentor said something about below 40, that there is actually not a youth, or probably I didn't get that very well, of above 40. Now my question now is, in Nigeria now, maybe because most of those in power now, they are the elders, people within the age of 70 and 80 now, and we are clamoring for a youth president in Nigeria now. So how does that actually contribute to nation building, like the age difference now? I don't know if we got that question very well. A youth president and nation building, does that really translate into a successful nation building in the country? And how do we bridge that gap, please?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. What we were trying to say was that there are some regulations, there are some policies that actually define who a youth is. And most of them appear to focus more on the age brackets, 15 to 24, 15 to 29, 15 to 35, and all that. But the presenter submitted that beyond that, in the broader sense, youth is somebody that can actually perform what is expected of youth, whether you fall within the bracket or not. Once you can have those qualities to develop a nation, you are a youth in the broader sense. So even if you are maybe, let's say, 18 or 15, and you can actually perform, it doesn't really matter. Even if you are 50 and you do not fall within the age bracket, you can deliver. You can still be regarded as a youth in the broader sense. So if somebody is clamoring for a youth to be the president, I think under the Constitution, most of the minimum qualifications to be all members of House of Assembly or the National Assembly or even the president, most of them are between 35 and 40 years. So if you look at some of those definitions, you will see that they still fall within a bracket of who can be regarded as youth. But do those things actually come into reality? What kind of those individuals do we see testing or vying for those offices? Do we see those kind of people even falling within that bracket as presidents? If they are saying that under the National Youth Policy of 2009 or under that of 2016, for instance, the age bracket for youth ends with 29 years of age, and that is why they cannot mobilize somebody above 30 years, for instance, for youth service. Is there any law that says that, okay, a core member can be a president of Nigeria, for instance? You don't see anything like that. If you go through the Constitution of Nigeria, the minimum qualification for most of the elective offices will be from 30, 35, 40. You understand? So the issue is not really about the age per se. If we see somebody of like even 25 years that has the potentials, that has those qualities to become a leader, so be it. So like Emerson also said the other time, it is not enough to just say I appointed someone 5 years of age as a assistant. What is that person bringing to the table? That is the most important thing, not really about the age. Anybody can appoint 16-year-old students as special, but those things really contribute to the meaningful development of that particular state or of that particular country. You will see that, let's look at the major contenders for the office of president in Nigeria presently. Do we have among them someone that we can really say that we have a youth among them? None of them. Except only very few. Like maybe somebody like Shogole now. Shogole should be above 50. So we don't really have those among them that can really qualify as youth using some regulations or some laws to support that. But the important thing is who can really deliver, who has the potentials to build the nation that we all want. That is the most important thing, irrespective of whether the person is falling within the age bracket or not. So I think you got that.
Sir, I got that, but please let me just chip in something if I'm allowed, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, sir. You stopped at saying something like, someone that can deliver now. But now in the system like Nigeria, where the trust is kind of low, especially with youth now, how does a youth now convince the masses that he or she is capable of delivering? They call Nigeria, lazy Nigerian youth. They look at all these small boys going into politics now. How do we now convince them?
Yes, conviction has several ways. And like we said, nation building is a process. So if you want to build a nation, it's a process. And to convince the people is something that people will have to see that you actually have the potential. You understand? So let the people see that you can actually do this thing. Like the presenter identified some of the qualities that can identify the youth that can build a nation. Do you have those qualities? You understand that people can just say, this is not an ordinary youth. You understand? So that's why we said the emphasis should not be on the age bracket alone, but on those ideas, on those things that the youth will have imbibed, will have acquired, and the youth will have practicalized for everybody to see. It's when the people see that you actually have those things that they can actually trust you. Really, this person is up to task and the person can actually deliver. You understand? You agree with me that when Obi came out to contest for the post of the president, some people saw the potential as a name that he can actually deliver. You understand? Irrespective of the fact that he's above 60 years of age, you agree with me that most of the so-called youth, they queued behind him and they gave him the support because they saw the things that do or something that he has done. They knew that he has some qualities that we make them believe that this person can actually perform better. So if the youth want to really convince the people, they should imbibe those spirits and imbibe those attitudes. Understand? Let the character be there. The discipline she talked about be there. The zero tolerance for corruption should be there. You understand? Not that you just come up and say that because I'm 30 years of age, you just vote for me. Do you have all those qualities that people have already highlighted, like our presenter? You understand? So it's not only about just saying I'm a youth, I'm young, just vote for me. No, convince the people through those virtues, and you will see that youth will really go far. Not just meeting or drumming or singing on the streets and convincing the people. So it's through what people have seen you do before, you understand. So I think with that, the people will be able to be convinced, not just campaigning and telling the people about what you can do, what people have seen that you have already done before, or the kind of attitude and character that you have. Is that?
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I will just add to that, Prince, if you don't
All
mind.
right. Okay, no problem. Sir.
So two things I'll break. You know, Antonia said something about, you know, we have to put capacity and vision, somebody that has the vision and passion, okay, and has the capacity, demonstrated capacity above every other thing, irrespective of the age now. I mean, with the caveat, you know, and then the religion, ethnicity, or even tribe, okay? So when everybody is speaking in the same tongue, we need people with capacity, somebody who has the capacity and demonstrated capacity and the vision and passion to drive nation building, okay, among us. So that is very important. And now when I say age, okay, and you know, some people are just not, they're just not true to themselves and true to the nation. How can you be vying for the position of the president of Nigeria when you have background ailments, when you don't have a good health? I mean, is that patriotism? That is baffling. You have obvious ailments, you have chronic diseases, you have things that you need to go down, rest, and die in peace, and you want to be Nigeria's president. You know, it is just amazing. It's just worrisome. Is this about the nation or about you? So that's one. So we need to start singing this so that an individual will know that I'm not fit for this. Okay, when we get to that, you know, discipline, the character, we get you know you're not fit for this, and you even present yourself. If people beg you to come and be the president, you will say no. Please leave me in peace. It's not about being in power. It's about what can I do. Okay, so that's one. And you say, you know, how do youth convince the people that they should vote for you? Okay, you won't just wake up one day and say you want to be the president of Nigeria. Okay, we need to be able to track you. You need to have track record. What have you done personally? You know, professional development. How have you developed yourself professionally? Have you had a business that you have built? Have you contributed to nation building in other capacity? You know, and the point is, why is everybody talking about about presidency, about governorship? Okay, nation building should start from the grassroots, from your locality. What have you done in the community organizations? How have you contributed to it? And why is nobody saying they want to be the chairman of their local government? If I come out today and as a medical doctor and say what I want to do is chairman of my local government, I want to transform my local government, because that is where the change can begin. Up until today, there are places in Ilorin, West local government is more local government. They don't have a single primary school. Not a single primary school, no portable source of water. I mean, this is so. Let's go back there. Let's take governance to the grassroots. Let's participate in that. Let's say, how can we contribute to the improvement of the lives of people in our locality? can you actually do that as a president? I doubt it. So we have to. So if you've done that, if you've been the chairman of your local government, you've had this NGO, you've contributed to community building, and people have seen your track record over time, and you've demonstrated zero tolerance for corruption, and your character is reputable, and then you won't have to even say you want, but people will pitch the tent for you, and then it speaks for itself. Your worth will speak for itself. I think that is it. And we also talk about the spirit people putting on that behind Peter Obi. We're not talking politics here, but the spirit should not die after election. So the conversation should continue. Nation building is not only about electioneering process and so on. It's also demanding for good things, good governance, education. Nigeria's investment in education up until that is way below par. When you're contributing 3% or so of your budget into, or 3 to 5% of your budget into education, when the UNESCO or the what's it called, UNICEF saying you should be spending between 10 to 15% or 20% on it, then what can you achieve with it? What kind of institutions do you want to build with that? So we will talk about education some other time, but these are the things youth should be involved in, with government and other things before beyond election, beyond politics. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't know if I can just chip in this.
All right.
Okay. How can a youth actually convince people? That is actually where I want to lay emphasis on. So you've actually made a very important point, saying that we cannot convince people who don't know us. So, and from working, doing all these building from the grassroots, we actually make it, because I think the questionnaire actually targeted on, okay, when you are in competition with these older people, that people know them with money and all those things. So how do you convince people that you are the right choice? So, and I think one important way to do that is you have been doing your capacity building, and you have changed the ideology of these people from the grassroots to know that it is not actually these people that deserve this position, but you who have these particular attributes. So you, even before you get to the place where their votes will be needed, you have changed the ideology to know that this is the right person to choose. And I think that is very important too.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry, Dr. Ahmed, can I still say something?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm being passionate about it. Maybe because I have maybe because I have a political ambition, but
which is good. It's part of nation building.
I'll still direct this to M2, the mentor. I think I'm okay with it. I was actually going to say something concerning you already answered the question about character virtues, track record of experience. I was actually trying to say something about, how do you now compete with people that, they have more money than you in terms of, Nigerian people are concerned about what they will hit. I'm talking about the poverty level in the country now. Like, does he have money? Can he spend? People are really after that. But I think if you can throw more light as regards that money, how do you compete with people that have more money than you?
Yes, thank you very much for the question again. You agree with me that you see, if there is proper education, like the presenter identified, that one of the factors militating against nation building is that a chunk of the youth population are not properly educated. That's why she identified that one of the things to be done to actually build a nation is to give the youth the required standard of education. You understand? So when people are properly educated, you know that everything is not all about money. And it will start from the grassroots. It will continue even from the family, through the community, states, and nation at large. So when the people have the proper orientation, like we are just discussing among ourselves here too, you also carry the same message to other people and tell them, you understand? And if you see people talking about money, you have a different view to that. And I'm not sure that there is anyone here that will just be convinced of competence based on the amount the person will offer you. I don't think we have such person here. And why? It is because of the kind of education most of us have. So if the people have the right education, they will be able to convince a large number of people. And as more as we have educated people, you have more people participating in democratic process, people participating in policy making, in governance generally, you understand? And that is how the thing will continue to improve. All these old men generation that people talk about, they will soon fizzle out, and we have properly educated youth if we walk along that line. But if we continue to say that majority of majority of the people that will vote for me, they are not even educated, you understand? If you have that kind of mentality, you're not going to make any progress. You understand? But if we want to be serious about it, and even if the youths are really serious about it, we focus more on education and education. That's why now little way in a CEF, Champions Educational Foundation, try to improve on the quality of education that people have, for some scholarships as well, apart from the national essay contest that we have, just to promote youth and education in the country. So by the time we have several other organizations doing that, we have the kind of youth that will partake in governance, and they will take the governance to another level beyond money politics. So that's what I think. So if you want to really convince those money bags that forget about money, and you know that in this kind of country, majority of the people are focused on money. How much is this person going to give me? Just be building the nation in your own little way. Be patriotic. Continue to improve the level of education of your fellow countrymen, and you will see that things will improve. It may take time, but we'll get the results in the long run.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Thank you very much. And yes, it might take time. It might take time, but things will improve over time. That's a very important point, okay? And I want to begin my own contribution with a call to action. Don't let the discussion stop here. If it is only your family member that you can tell that things goes beyond money, tell them. That goes a long way. They will have friends. And when they're having discussion, they have already planted a different thought process into them. And that will germinate. So don't let it stop on your desk. That's very important. So let us keep telling this. We would see what we can do at Champions Education Foundation. We can have a leadership initiative program that would further enhance and broaden this scope of this discussion, so we can change the narrative from within gradually. So politicians have weaponized poverty. So that's what they do, and they will not invest in education as such because it's a strategic plan. If the populace are educated, then it's a bad market for them. You understand? So it's a strategic plan. So you don't expect them to actually put a lot of energy in that. But through this kind of things, gradually we can do it. Okay, we can definitely do it because people do not know better. People don't know better. Once if you ask people how is the governor performing, you say it's an excellent governor because it's constructing roads, is patching some roads and is paying salary. It's an excellent governor. For God's sake. For God's sake. So we need to change this. We really need to have people have discussion around this. And what you're saying is practical. It's what's happening now. You have two people contesting for Senate, so to represent the legislative in the upper chamber, and one of them is an NDO, that the other one is masters and also that. But somebody is spending money, somebody does not have money, and you will not be surprised if the money bags wins, because he can spend the money. He can give somebody 5 million naira without thinking an eye, without batting an eye. You understand that kind of thing? And that is what, and if you sample the opinion of majority of people, 8 out of 10 will tell you that, oh, this guy will win because he has money. That narrative has to change. It has to change. For God's sake, now it's not about whether the other candidate is good or not good now. But what we're saying is that even if he has the money, does he have the capacity? We should have the discussion around the capacity as well. Having money is not a bad thing. We have to clear the hair. Having money is a very good thing to have money, because it makes your life easy, it makes your work easy. So if you have the capacity, you should also strive to have the money, build your business, build your personal brand, develop yourself personally, generate this wealth legitimately, okay? And also have personal development, build your capacity, so that if you are called to serve, if you are in the position of power, you have something to offer to the people. So we are not demonizing money here. Okay, money is very important. The money is good, but we have to look beyond that. Okay, somebody that has this amount of money should not to spend it on just feeding the people alone. Should know to invest it in things that could actually improve the state of the affairs of the people in the long term. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, Daniel.
Let me contribute. Okay, from what my friend brings up about entering politics, right? And not having the money like other guys have. So he mentioned a young guy, Seun Fakole, that was being chosen as the next commissioner at 27 years old. I listened to him live about a week ago in Lagos at an event. He said he was choosing based on his track record of social impact projects. That he has no connection with the governor or any politician, that he was choosing based on his track record of social impact. So, and like someone has shared, that area of doing your own work, your own social impact work, one day can blow you up. So nobody will pick you from village down to become a president or become a commissioner, except based on relation or some kind of bias. But if it will be based on competence and integrity, there must be a background, there must be a track record. So that is one thing I want to share. And my own concern is this concerning nation building. Why is it that a crop of young people and youth with their level of education and their level of awareness, why is their contribution still low? Like, we are educated, we are aware, but their contribution to nation building is too low. Even for myself, like, I'm still concerned. Why is our contribution so low? We can talk about it, argue about it, but our contribution is not as expressive as it ought to be. What could be the barrier? That's my question. Thank you.
That's for you to answer, actually. What do you think is the barrier that's making your contribution low? I don't think my contribution is low, given the capacity I have. Okay, given a bigger capacity, I think I'll do better. But if you think your contribution is low, what do you think is causing that, and what can be done to address that?
So probably trying to wait for things to have all the resources together before launching out, or being preoccupied with kind of survivor. I want to make it first before I become used to society. That kind of probably those could really barrier.
Yeah, that's right. So we just need to continue doing what we're doing. You need to continue educating people that you can actually, without having a dime, you can actually contribute to nation building just by telling somebody that, no, that is wrong in your neighborhood. Okay, don't pay him a bribe. No, don't do that. That is not right. You understand? Little by little, we change the narrative amongst ourselves, and because it's the followers that become the leaders. So nobody has come from another country to come and rule us in Nigeria after independence. So it is whatever is happening among our leaders is reflective of what is happening in our locality, and that has to change. That's what we're saying. That's what we've been saying. We cannot exhaust this topic, and we are way past the scheduled time. So without wanting to step on any toes, I would like us to have a vote of thanks and then call it a day. Mrs. Nafisa, are you there? Can you give us a vote of thanks? Okay, I'm not sure if she is. One of the executive, okay, two of them. So Prince has been here since the beginning. Kozim Ibrahim is the Director of Publicity, Media and Publicity for Champion Education Foundation. If you are there, can you give us a vote of thanks and let's call it a day.
All right, let me just wait for the PRO. I actually missed Dr. Mubarak, actually. I missed his intelligent contributions. But should I hand over? Okay.
If PRO is there, please continue. Please have the floor. Continue.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I am happy to be here, and I really appreciate the presenter and the mentors too. So I indulge the Champion Educational Foundation Board to keep what they are doing in championing the cause of in championing good cause like this. We hope that if we are doing this and other people are doing it, I believe that thing will transfer or inspire most people around, so that in due course we have the nation that we could be proud of. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Prince, you want to say something before we go?
I just wanted to just appreciate everybody, and the PRO should not come late again next time.
I am sure you can hear that. I think Mubarak is hearing everything we're saying, because once you see Nafisa Folari on the screen, you can be sure that if he's not here, then he's represented. Okay, Prince.
All right, so amazing. I really enjoyed the webinar, and thanks to the mentor and everybody.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. It's been a wonderful experience for me. Mr. Kolawole, you've been a great addition. Thank you. Please do come around and to other presentation, okay?
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, bye.
Cheers.
Bye. Bye-bye.